Hi, everybody. During our last lecture, we talked about the difference between needs and drives. We also talked about the four different motivational theories that have to deal with motivation. Here, we can go back to them. We talked about instinct theory, drive reduction theory, humanistic theory with Maslow's hierarchy, as well as sociocultural theory. So we are going to be going over the hunger drive specifically today. And the hunger drive can be biological and psychological. So the hunger drive can actually be a biological process. So we are actually physically hungry. Our stomach is telling us that we need food, as well as psychological. So various things can make us feel hungry when our body doesn't necessarily need food, things like stress and boredom. So we're going to talk about the role of the mouth in the hunger drive first. So chewing and swallowing help reduce feelings of hunger in animals and humans. So just the act of chewing and swallowing, you're kind of satisfying your hunger before it even hits your stomach. This action lets the body know that its hunger drive is beginning to be satisfied. You should stop eating though before you're completely full because it does take time for the digestive tract to metabolize food and provide signals to the brain that it has been satisfied. So typically there's like the 80-20 rule where you're only supposed to eat until you're 80% full because that 20% is going to be filled up by the time your signals from your stomach go to your brain to tell you to stop eating. So you're not supposed to necessarily eat until you're like stuffed because then you could get sick and that's how you gain weight. So the role of the stomach in the hunger drive essentially is just hunger pangs. These signal hunger. So you could feel maybe your stomach growling, you could feel some actual stuff going on in your stomach, you could maybe even hear it. And this has something to do with the folds that are in the stomach. And in sleeve gastrectomies, like those weight loss surgeries, the way that it makes you lose weight is because you are making the stomach smaller. So the stomach is kind of like a big sack. And in this sleeve gastrectomy, it makes it kind of look like a banana or just like a tube. And not only is it making it smaller, but it is taking out or physically removing the folds or the ridges in the stomach that cause these hunger pangs. So it is actually taking away your stomach's ability to signal hunger to your brain and to growl. So that's also a way to lose weight if you are morbidly obese. So the hypothalamus is part of the brain. We didn't really go over the brain simply because you're going to do that in either biology or anatomy and physiology, so I didn't want to bore you too much. But part of the brain that measures the level of sugar in the blood or blood sugar is the hypothalamus. And when blood sugar drops, then information is sent to the hypothalamus that says, listen, you have to eat something, your blood sugar is too low. It's also responsible for regulation of body temperature and for psychological motivation and emotion. The hypothalamus is right here. It's kind of part of the brain stem, or it's near the brain stem. Okay. Now, just to kind of preface this, you are not going to be tested on this stuff. I don't expect you guys to really be able to memorize all of this, but we're going to talk about it anyway. The lateral hypothalamus, or the LH, is the start eating center. So it's actually prompts you to start eating. If it's electrically stimulated, you begin to eat. So in this case, these rats, they were stimulated to start eating, and they began eating, and pretty much didn't stop. However, if there's a lesion or a cyst or something in your lateral hypothalamus, you could starve because your brain isn't telling you to eat. It's pretty much just saying that you're full all the time. The ventromedial hypothalamus, or the VMH, is the underside of the hypothalamus, and it is the stop eating center. So it's the actual opposite of the lateral hypothalamus. And when this is electrically stimulated, rats stopped eating. So they were able to start them eating and were able to stop them eating. Now, if this part of the hypothalamus is destroyed, or if there's a lesion on it or something, you will continue to eat and never stop. Eventually, eating will level off and the rat will maintain the higher weight, but you are just going to eat and eat and eat and never feel completely full. You guys don't really need to know this, but it's a quick fact. The preference for sweet foods over bitter foods is built into the human nervous system as a kind of evolutionary thing. An infant given sugar water will smile, whereas one given something bitter will make an expression of disgust. This preference makes sense in terms of survival because sweet substances tend to be higher in nutritive value than other substances, while many poisonous plants are bitter tasting. So, this is millions of years of evolutionary work for us to enjoy sweet foods over bitter foods. So, we talked about the biological influences of hunger. Now let's talk about the psychological influences of hunger. So, a lot of people tend to eat more when they're under pressure, depressed, or anxious. Now, we're in quarantine right now, and you might see online um, articles or even memes about overeating while in quarantine because there's really nothing else to do. We're not allowed to leave the house, we're not allowed to go do things that we normally do. So, we're kind of just stuck here eating. And some people might feel depressed or anxious because of the current situation that's going on outside, so they might eat more. So, what do you guys think? Should parents think twice before rewarding their children with food? Now, you don't have to explain. If you want to give your 2 cents, feel free. In my opinion, I think that using food as a motivator could definitely backfire. So maybe parents should try using other things like praise or something like that. So losing weight is a whole kind of psychological game if you aren't stricken with something that's biologically making you heavy. So, women in particular have an unrealistic weight loss goal, especially teenagers. We see all of these very slender, thin models and actresses portrayed in the media. Now, that's kind of starting to change now with the body positive movement, but it's still kind of a unachievable goal. And if you're trying to achieve it, please do so in a healthy way. Try to lose weight in a healthy, normal, safe way. A lot of the time, teenagers and women who really want to look like these celebrities don't do so in a healthy way. So, dieting fads usually don't work. Instead, a successful diet includes a lifestyle change. You have to literally change your whole life and what you're doing on a day to day basis. You should eat more fruits and vegetables. You should exercise more and educate yourself on foods to eat and not eat. Now, this isn't starving yourself. This isn't just eating kind of garbage foods. You have to eat nutritiously, eat enough for your body, and exercise enough. So you should be burning more calories than you ingest. So your assignment, which I am going to post on Google Classrooms since you don't have the books, um, your assignment is page 306, just numbers 1 through 3. Again, I will post that for you on Google Classroom, and you'll have 24 hours to complete it. If you guys have any questions about what we discussed so far, please reach out. I'm here to answer all of your questions or concerns. With that being said, have a good day, stay safe, keep your hands clean, and I will see you in the next one.